There was no final rose. I didn't get a chance to say my goodbyes. No one even offered to walk me out. Just like that, I'd been kicked out of Bachelor Nation. For years, I'd been obsessed with the Bachelor franchise. Even though my beat at the Los Angeles Times is film, I enjoyed watching The Batch so much that I willingly opted to spend my Monday nights writing recaps of each new episode. Because of my coverage, ABC granted me access to a handful of Bachelor-related activities. I attended tapings of the Women Tell All specials, interviewing jilted ladies after they've been left roseless. One season, The Bachelor himself, along with host Chris Harrison and a slew of cameras, even crashed a viewing party at my house. And then there were the weekly conference calls, probably the least illuminating of the Bachelor press opportunities. The calls worked like this. Dozens of journalists were given an access code, dialed into an ABC line, and then were allowed to publicly ask the contestant of the week a question or two. It wasn't soul-searching stuff. It was bachelor.net.rose.tv.com asking about on-screen smooching. But suddenly, the emails with bland press releases inviting me to participate in the calls stopped showing up in my inbox. I promptly got in touch with an ABC publicist to see if the move had been accidental. "I'm sorry," the rep responded. "We're just so slammed this season that there's no more room on the call." Which, what? How do you run out of room on a conference call? The situation seems suspect to me, and my editor at the paper agreed. So he decided to call up ABC's publicity department to get the real story. And what he learned was that apparently producers had deemed my coverage too negative and no longer wanted me near any show-sponsored events. I was shocked. Were my recaps snarky? That would be a duh. But who doesn't hate watch The Bachelor? No one takes a show about 25 women vying for one man seriously. My editor at the LA Times decided that we wouldn't write another word about the show until they reinstated my access. Some members of Bachelor Nation, that's how ABC refers to us Rose lovers, were outraged on my behalf. My Twitter followers sent messages to show producers and network executives complaining that the ruling was unfair. The female-centric blog Jezebel even wrote an item about the scuffle. While her coverage hasn't exactly been glowing, it hasn't been wholly horrible either. Perhaps she took one too many stabs at ABC last season. So a message to members of the press from the Bachelor family: you're cool, but only when you're doing it in the Bachelor-approved way. Still, ABC's so-called ban didn't stop me from publicly sharing my thoughts about The Bachelor. Even after the paper instituted its "the show is dead to us" policy, I kept watching and tweeting about the show as a fan. And in a way, it was freeing. Without a post-episode recap deadline to meet, I started viewing the series differently, taking in how the Twitter sphere reacted to storylines and analyzing how my feelings shifted throughout the course of a season. I even decided to start an email group, aptly titled Batch Discuss. I hope you've gotten on the abbreviation train by now. And invited about 24 smart lady fans I knew to share thoughts about episodes and show-related news on the daily. Whenever a new season was airing, we'd gather in my living room with Rosé and Skinny Pop to watch together, something that instantly elevated the viewing experience. Because many of us were entertainment journalists, we'd often cross paths with Batch contestants, and sometimes we could even convince them to come watch themselves on TV with us. Eric Bigger, Ashley Iaconetti, and JJ Lane have all been guests on my couch, and once Robbie Hayes ghosted us after promising to come over and requesting we make him Moscow mules. I have no use for those copper mugs now, you sockless liar. While it is, admittedly, fun to make jabs about the drunken contestants with their staged limo entrances, I don't just watch the show because it can be a train wreck. By the finale each season, I find myself rooting for the final two to make it to the altar. I'm weirdly touched by the cheesy proposal, these overwrought declarations of love between two people who've known each other for just a few weeks. In those moments, it's easy to forget that just 6 couples in the history of the show have wed. And I think I'm being generous by including the 2 marriages that came out of Bachelor in Paradise in that figure. I refuse to count Marcus and Lacey. Sorry, not sorry. A part of me, 32 years old, single, and tindering up a storm, wants to believe in the fantasy. Sometimes, I even daydream about what it would be like if I were on the show. To be clear, Even if I weren't banned, this would be a total pipe dream. I don't even have the kind of hands that an engagement ring would look good on. I still embarrassingly bite my nails, and I never get manicures. Plus, my friends often joke that if you were to take a photograph of just my hands, you'd think they belonged to a pudgy 5-year-old. When I was in 2nd grade, my uncle, who made his living as a commercial photographer, asked if I wanted to earn $100 by working as a hand model for a toy catalog he was shooting. But when he got a look at my hands, my sister, who was a mere 6 years old at the time, was given the job over me. Plus, I wouldn't want one of those gaudy Neil Lane rings anyway. I want something rare and chic, like a unique crystal with meaning or an antique ring that belonged to someone important. It won't look expensive per se, but at least I'll know the guy had to go farther than the K Jewelers at the mall to pick it out. Besides, I could never pass the show's stringent yet unspoken body requirements. Even if they generously allowed me to go on as a plus-size model or some other bullshit, I'm only 5'1", so no one would believe it. I've literally never worn a bikini in my entire life. Not once. I never lay out. My skin is the color of newly fallen snow. That whole lounging by the pool thing, I'll take a book in a blanket-heavy nook, thank you very much. And have I mentioned I don't drink? As if I wasn't already skeptical enough of the process, the producers would have no chance of loosening me up with alk. Oh, and I'm scared of heights, so helicopters are out. And not in that cute way where it's like, oh my God, I'm so anxious. Please hold me because I'm nervous and not because I desperately want to be near you. No, I do not want to get on a small aircraft. And if you even take me within 10 feet of something with propellers, I will cause you bodily harm. But honestly, I'd still apply. I would still fucking apply. That's pretty dark, right? I mean, seriously, what is wrong with me? Why do I want to be that girl, the bronzed one in a 2-piece who bungee jumps and looks like she was born to have a blinding rock on her slim ring finger? A hollow, spray-tanned shell of extensions and sequins whose personality and intelligence always come second to her looks. What does it mean to be the chosen one? It's not a label I've ever known, but it's one I've obsessed over since I was a girl. From an early age, I understood that the most meaningful validation a straight woman could get was from a man.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.